Welcome to another edition of the Suitcase Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Bob Bowman, and today I wanted to do something special. Today, I'm joined by my best friend and my wife of over 42 years, Chris Bowman. And I thought it would be fun to spend a few minutes getting the perspective that she has on this crazy thing we all love called Cigar Box Guitars. And so, Chris, thanks for joining me. All right. So I wanted to know your initial thoughts on the subject of cigar box guitars because, it wasn't something I always did until about 8 years ago.
I had no idea it existed. I'd never, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have believed any of this. But
what do you recall about how we got started?
Well, you, at the age of 55, decided you wanted to learn to play a guitar. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, so we better go get one. So we went down to the guitar shop and bought a guitar. And then right away, you got a coupon in the mail for $250 off another guitar, which I thought was crazy. So, of course, we went and bought another one. And then you thought, well, I guess I better learn how to play them. So you went on YouTube, and while you were on YouTube looking for instructions to play, YouTube leads you from one thing to the next Right. And you called me in because you saw a guy playing a post hole shovel, and you thought that was the craziest thing ever. And then you kept going, and you ended up looking at cigar box guitars that you have always loved your shop, and then you just decided to start. You said, I can build one of these. And I said, well, go ahead. So you built one. And then the next thing I know, we're a part of Cigar Box Nation and all kinds of groups and stuff and travel. And
yeah, it was a great rabbit hole. And Justin Johnson, who I often cite when I talk about how I got into it and where I discovered it. And he was the one playing a 3-string electric shovel, which I called a post hole digger. Anyway, I was fascinated, still fascinated. I didn't know anybody made or played cigar box guitars. But yeah, I got a Les Paul and I got a Jackson Dinky. I named them Nadine and Sylvia. Both are still sitting in the corner of my office over there. Neither have been... I haven't learned to play either of them, so they haven't been played yet. And I've got a Spider 6 amp that I have used on my cigar box guitars, but not really for the electric guitars. So, yeah, it was crazy. And I felt, once I was accepted into the cigar box, community, I felt like I was bona fide. I remember rolling over saying, my membership's been approved.
I didn't even know people did such a thing. I had not a clue.
All I wanted was to get a question answered on the neck length and how far to space the strings apart. And that's when I discovered Gary Herget, who is president of the St. Louis Cigar Box Guitar Club and great guy. But so that was a fun introduction to how we got into this thing. But that's led us down a bunch of other roads. And so I thought it'd be fun to, also pick your brain about a couple of topics that I know we both enjoy, but you particularly like to do a couple of them. And one of those you called dumpster diving. You want to talk about that?
I love dumpster diving. So once you start looking at guitars and you see all the different things that people incorporate into them, it's what you look for. I love to go antiquing. So we go to the antique stores and we find these interesting little items or things that we think, oh, this would be great on a guitar, or everything is about guitars now, no matter where we go. We're driving down the road and it's like, quick, pull over, there's a hubcap.
Yeah, I think I got a call from our oldest son, Adam, and he said, hey, I saw a muffler on the side of the highway. You want me to go back and get it? I actually told him yes, by the way.
And we just and literally dumpster dive when there's different wood and all kinds of stuff going on in construction. So
it's amazing what people throw away.
It is.
And so, yeah, I think
one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Correct. And that is actually the title of a book I have on my shelf, too. Anyway, all right. So you already talked about antiquing. And what's fun for me is when we go to all these antique shops, and there's a circuit for us, we go to a few in particular that we really like. And they know that I'm buying things that will go into a cigar box guitar. And now when I go in, they ask about my cigar box guitars in several of them, which is pretty fun.
And I think we have boxes of little things that we have collected and found and people have given us, and almost as many as we have cigar boxes.
Yeah, fun things to put on them, like keychains or bottle caps. You know, you were...
Oh, even the grandkids could collect bottle caps for you.
Yeah, and so they found out that I could use those to either bury small piezos in or use as volume and tone knob bases or knobs themselves. So, yeah, that was pretty fun. Also, something else I wanted to talk about was your thoughts on shop time, building.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on that.
Okay, let's hear.
One is I really enjoy when you ask for my opinion. Now, this is a 50-50 because Bob is very precise, very, very thought through, and likes straight, clean lines. And I am very rounded and artsy and a little flowery for him. But whenever we join together and we reach a happy point for both of us, then it always works. It always works. So I really like that. But speaking of which, behind us.
Yeah, this is a result of the compromise between straight lines and, artsy. I wanted to put all of them at the same level, and we compromised. Now they're a different level.
See, isn't that nice?
Oh, visually appealing. It's visually appealing. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so
anyways, being in your shop, I think it's fun that I love that you found something that you love to do and that you're in the shop, but you will be in that shop for hours. I will not see you for an entire day. And there are times I have to take food out to him and just put it down on the bench because he hasn't eaten and reminded me he's got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories relative to that is being out in my shop one day. It was in wintertime. I had the heaters all cranked up, and here in the Midwest, it can get pretty cold out there, but I was feeling pretty toasty, so I was working away. Anyway, I hadn't come in for a while. All of a sudden, I had to turn the music down, and you had brought me a big tray with a brand new, still in the plastic sausage roll, uncut, with rich crackers and cheese and pickles and whatnot, a big Stanley thermos filled with water. And you said, I can bring food out to you and help you eat, but I can't make you come in and go pee. And I remember thinking to myself, oh man, I do have to go. So I took a break, but went right back out to the shop. But, I had food at that point. So yeah, I appreciate that. But
you're welcome.
That's very good. Okay. So that's your thoughts on shop time in general, or any other thoughts?
I can't think of anything.
You love it so much. My time in the shop.
Well, I love that you have time in the shop and that you take the time out there, but you need time. I get a little lonely in the house sometimes. I want to be able to go out and do things with you too. So
okay, so we'll save that for the safety tips portion at
there
the
we
end.
go.
All right. So the next thing I wanted to ask you about was people in the community and your thoughts on the Cigar Box Guitar Community in general.
I think it's a wonderful community. I think everybody is very sharing and giving. And I say that because when you go into a booth and you're learning about somebody else's artistic creativity, they're sharing with you the things they've learned along the way, which are things that you can incorporate when you're building, and it's very helpful. Everybody helps each other. Everybody takes care of each other. Everybody's building guitars, but everybody is building a guitar based on their own creativity. So there's so many different ones. And I also love, I'm a story person. I love everybody's stories. I love hearing about, where they came from, how they got into this, what they enjoy about it. Because when you are around cigar box people, they're just happy. They're happy, and they can just sit and listen to people play music all day. And it's just really a good atmosphere.
Yeah, I do love that about them relative to listening to music, and that'll help me segue into the next question I had for you. But before we do, I'm picturing Logan Elliott dancing all by himself at festivals after festival. It doesn't really matter which one he's at, but I love that about him.
Well, when we were in Gadsden, and they came out, and the band was playing on the outside on the sidewalk, and people were just in the streets dancing and just really enjoying themselves. And it's just such a good happy vibe.
Yeah, agreed. And so, all right. So that brings me into a good segue into one of my other questions about your thoughts on festivals in general. You've been to a few now, so I was just wondering what your thoughts have been.
Oh, I think the festivals are great. I think it pulls in the crowds to see all that you guys do. I think we've seen some really fun things especially with young people coming in and picking up a cigar box guitar for the first time and being able to play it and being excited about it, and then having other people that play help them out and show them what to do, and it's just fun. It's just fun to be there and to see those things. And
yeah, I enjoy it as well. And I know just from the festivals we've attended, and there's been a lot over the last 8 years, but I enjoy the fact that all of the builders who have a booth and are vending their cigar box guitars, they do bring all of those varying styles that they've created and or experimented with, and some of them are playing, some of them are not. But what I enjoy most about it is seeing the camaraderie between and among those builders. And to your point, they'll leave their booth and they'll go talk to another builder at a different booth, and they'll start swapping, build stories and start exchanging issues and concerns they've faced and how they work through them. And next thing you know, they're leaving with new tidbits of information for how to overcome, fretting problems or tuning problems or, mounting problems, any number of things. But I do like that.
And building and playing each have their own thing. Like watching Justin Johnson come and he has a part where he will get on the stage and he will play anything anybody has made, just anything. And he'll pick it up and he'll say, "Give me a minute to get the feel of it." And then he just starts playing, and he has made beautiful music out of some of the craziest guitars I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's definitely a gift. I watch him play a dryer door or a washing machine door. I watched him play a converted walker, for the elderly. Yeah. So to your point, I think he's masterful at that for sure. All right, so that brings me up to another item. I'm gonna save two things for last, but what's your favorite builds? Do you have a favorite build?
Actually, I do. I love the mandolin that you made me.
Oh.
I just think it is absolutely beautiful. It sounds incredible. And it's just,
I
don't know. I, in my wildest dreams, didn't think I would ever own a mandolin, and I just think it's beautiful.
That was fun. I appreciated that you picked the box, but that box in particular is an antique box that Mike Breedlove of MGB Guitars gave to me. And of course, the mandolin kit came from MGB Guitars as well. But at any rate, yeah, that's a really nice box and sounds good.
It just came out so pretty.
Yeah.
So that would...
Ghosted to pick up on that one so that the artwork wouldn't be changed.
Yeah, it's pretty, and I like it. And I've seen a lot of builds. I think something that is interesting too is that when you started, we found boxes that looked alike, and you kind of built the same guitar, like you had a line,
a series,
right? Yeah. But really, it's the custom ones that sell more, and they're more unique. And people will come to you and say, "Wow, I have this." My son drove this car, or I had a car, and this is the emblem from it, and can you make me one? Or oh my goodness, what else have
Cadillac Seville on that one?
Yeah. I mean, people love the guitars, but they really like them personalized to them, and there's a lot of creativity that's put into that.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories, and along those lines, one of my favorite stories was the man who contacted me because he had a cigar box that his brother, who's since passed away, had given to him when his son was born. Their family used it for sewing bobbins and, thread and all that stuff. But then when his son got old enough, used it as a crayon box. And then when he was older, used it as a place to store his school supplies. And so his son was turning 30. And his brother had then since passed away. And so he wanted to know if there was a way to make a guitar out of that. And we customized a guitar for him. And he was so happy. That was a favorite.
I know. I think about my cousin who, his company, they had a concrete company, and he had license plates from their vehicles that matched. And you took the license plates and made matching guitars for his grandsons. And I love that.
Right. He was a helicopter pilot.
So fun.
Or a helicopter mechanic in Vietnam on the Huey, UH-1 Huey helicopter. So I got some military coins with the UH-1 helo on it and put them in the headstock. And which reminds me of my cousin's build. My aunt and uncle danced to Booker T and the MG's Green Onions. And that was one of the earliest memories of my cousin Glenn's, of his mom and dad from when he was little, and so that turned out really good as well, using a 45 in that build. All right, so fun stories, but I wanted to last two. You want to tell the story about the trip home from my knee surgery?
And you're going to let me tell this story in my way.
I'll see.
Okay.
Let's see how
this is the real story. So Bob had knee surgery. And you know how after you have surgery, you come out of surgery and they give you a lot of water and juice and, crackers and whatever. And then after a time, they feel like they're awake enough that you're good, worn off, and you're good to go. And so I had the seats down in the back of the Subaru, and I put him in there with pillows and blankets and had his knee propped up, and we're driving home, and it's quite a drive, and he's talking normal. Everything seems to be normal and fine. And I thought, wow, I guess it wore off, or they didn't give him as much as I thought they did. And he said, "Can I see my phone?" And I said, "Sure." And I handed the phone back to him, and he's just on his phone, and I'm driving, and it's really quiet. And finally I'm like, what are you doing back there? And he's like, "Oh, there are so many good things on sale right now." I'm like, "What?" And he said, "There's this wood." And he said, "And it's such a great price, Chris. It's so good, but will you go get it for me?" I'm like, "Well, where is it?" And he said, and so go ahead, tell him.
It was in Sullivan, and I had already made the purchase by that point.
And
It was 2 truckloads of clear maple.
and do we own a truck?
No, we needed to borrow one at the time. We own one now.
And you just had knee surgery, so
Yes.
who gets to do this?
Yeah, it was raining really hard, and you made 2 trips to Sullivan from where we live.
In the rain.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had to have a truck back on time, and I had to load and unload, and I unloaded it in the garage, as you know who is on crutches watching.
Sure.
And how much room did it take up?
You did great, though, by the way. It was a stack 4 foot tall by 6 foot wide by 7 foot deep when it was neatly stacked, and thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm. That was an act of love.
Right. I know. I could tell. And
that you're
awesome.
Gonna pay me back for later, right?
I still have some of that maple left. I've pre-cut well over 200 blanks for necks that are still a stack still sitting pre-cut, but I've still got uncut in the overhead.
And that's not the only thing. When I was driving home from the second load, you called and said, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I bought some cigar boxes too, and it's on your way home. You just got to swing by and get them." And it was in the middle of nowhere.
Not really. It was over by Russ's house.
It was in the middle of nowhere, and I had to stop and get these boxes. And I came home. I wasn't feeling the love, not at all.
I was. Those were some sweet boxes. Yeah.
So the moral of the story is he's grounded from his phone. He cannot have his phone when he takes any sort of...
In my defense, under anesthesia, I made some pretty good purchases.
Oh. My gosh.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And you will get paid back at some point. I'm certain of it. All right, so that brings us up to my final question, just for you, before we close it out. If you had advice that you would offer to either a builder or the spouse of a builder, what would it be? I think you hinted at one earlier, but I don't want to steal your thunder. So
I think... So stop. Okay. So my advice to a builder is remember that you have a wife and that she's helpful too. And
are you suggesting we can't spend 10 hours a day in our shop without peeing?
I am suggesting peek your head in once in a while to let us know you're alive.
And that's it, though?
Well, no, but...
Okay.
But to each their own. I'll let you guys figure out your balance. But there has to be a balance. The other thing is that for wives, I think it would be fun when we go to these festivals or we go to the various venues, is that the wives come, and that if the men are all absorbed in building and whatever it is they're doing, that the wives get together and maybe we just go out to lunch or we go shop on the avenue wherever the event is at, or just have lunch, have a little get together and get to know each other better. We've done a little bit of that, and that's been really fun down in Gadsden. The museum is right on the cute main square of the old town, and we did a little bit of that, and that was kind of fun. Went to a infused olive oil place and vinegar and taste tested and had a good time. We sat in chairs and listened to the band, and that was fun. So just to be able to be a part and to be able to enjoy, just to see what's around in the area and that kind of thing.
Okay. So just find something for you to do, or...
Yeah, we can help out at these events. We can be, so that we're just not sitting in a chair staring and watching things go by, just to be involved and to be active and just to have a little wives club. I think that would be fun.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm sure there's something from this conversation everybody will either relate to or be able to use. So
y'all just get lost in your thoughts. You start talking guitars and...
Yeah, it is an issue. Well, with that then, that's a good place to close. Let me say thank you for joining us on this edition of the Suitcase Sessions podcast. And as always, I will remind you. This isn't a bloopers outtake. I actually wanted to see what she'd do if I paused. All right. Just keep playing, and we'll catch up later, somewhere down the road.